Oh my God, son, your tool is so lovely. Welcome back to Youth Tales 18, where we bring you another captivating tale of passion and unexpected connections. If you enjoy these juicy stories, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. I'm a 42-year-old stepmom who never thought she'd be in this situation. My husband Philip is a successful businessman, always preoccupied with his work and phone. Although I appreciate his dedication, it often leaves me feeling neglected and alone. As the days turned into weeks, I found myself longing for companionship and intimacy, craving the affection that had slowly faded from our relationship. I often thought about how I could reignite the spark in my life. The nights felt especially lonely when I'd hear Philip's footsteps as he retreated to his study, leaving me in the silence of our once vibrant home. I missed the thrill of romance, the warmth of a tender embrace, and the excitement of being desired. My thoughts wandered to my stepson Jason, a handsome 24-year-old who had recently moved back home after finishing college. Jason had always been respectful and polite, but there was an undeniable chemistry between us. I knew it was wrong, but the more I pushed those thoughts away, the stronger they became. After a long day of waiting for Philip to come home, I decided to change into a silk robe. As I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror, I sighed, longing for the days when I felt desired and beautiful. I made my way to the bedroom, where I could immerse myself in thoughts of what could be. As I was about to put on my robe, I suddenly heard the door creak open. It was Jason, returning home unexpectedly. He greeted me with a bright smile, and my heart raced. I quickly grabbed my robe to cover up, but it was too late. Jason's eyes widened slightly as he took in the sight of me. He apologized for interrupting, and his gaze lingered on me for a moment too long. I tried to play it cool, but I could feel a flush creeping up my cheeks. We stood there in an awkward silence, and I could sense a shift between us, an electric current. Jason moved from one foot to the other, his eyes glancing back at me as if he was considering something. He said he should probably leave, taking a step towards the door. I told him to wait, speaking softly. He hesitated, his gaze meeting mine, and the urge between us felt tangible. I knew I had to take a risk. Between us felt tangible. I knew I had to take a risk. Jason, I've been feeling a bit lonely lately. It's been hard for me to be here, without Philip around. I know we haven't really connected the way we could, and I understand it's been weird with him being so busy all the time. I took a deep breath and felt bold, suggesting that we spend some time together, just the two of us. To my surprise, a smile spread across his face, and he said he'd like that. Drawn closer by an invisible force, I stepped nearer to him, the space between us shrinking until we were only inches apart. I could feel the warmth radiating from his body, and the undeniable chemistry between us. I told him that I've been thinking about him a lot more than I should, and he admitted the same, stepping closer with a nervous excitement evident in his voice. In that moment, all my fears faded away, and I leaned in, capturing his lips with mine. The kiss was tentative at first, but it quickly deepened, igniting a fire within me that I hadn't felt in years. His hands found their way to my waist, pulling me closer as we melted into each other. They embraced each other, breathless and exhilarated. "This is so wrong," I murmured, my heart racing. "Maybe, but it feels so right," he replied, his voice hoarse with desire. Before I could consider the consequences, I pulled him back into another passionate kiss, my fingers tangling in his hair. The kiss grew more intense as his hands explored my back, and I pressed against him, feeling the heat radiating from his body and shivers down my spine. As we parted, I looked into his eyes, seeing the same mix of excitement and fear reflected. "Are we really doing this?" I whispered, feeling breathless. "Yes," he said firmly, gripping my chest. "I want this, Carla. I've wanted you for a long time." Emboldened by his words, I stepped back slightly and took his hand, leading him toward the bed. The moment felt surreal, but I was ready to embrace it. As we sat on the edge of the bed, I leaned in closer, and our lips met again, more urgently. This time, Jason's hands roamed my body, exploring every curve, as I melted into him. The warmth grew stronger as we touched, sparking a burning flame within. I could feel the yearning in his eyes as my fingers traced his jawline. Let's not hold back, I said breathlessly, thrilled by my own boldness. He leaned in and kissed me deeply, his body hot and eager against mine. I pushed him back onto the bed, straddling him, kissing him with urgency. I could feel his heart racing, matching my own. This feels too good to stop now, I said in a low, sultry voice, as our bodies moved in sync, his soft groans sending shivers down my spine. Carla, you're captivating, he whispered, his hands moving to my back, pulling me closer as I pressed against him. I loved the way he looked at me, the longing in his eyes fueling my self-assurance. I want to feel you, I murmured, my voice thick with yearning. Then let's not waste any more time, he said, his hands finding the hem of my robe, pulling it apart as I gasped at the sensation of being exposed to him. Gorgeous, he murmured, leaning in to kiss my collarbone, igniting a fire within me. I could feel the heat rising, and I allowed myself to succumb to the pleasure of the moment. His hands roamed over my body, awakening every nerve ending as he kissed down my neck, sending waves of pleasure coursing through me. I let out a soft moan, arching my back against him as he continued his trail of kisses. More, I urged, my body craving his touch. With newfound confidence, Jason sat up, his hands gripping my waist as he turned us over, pinning me against the bed. His eyes sparkled with mischief and desire. As they embraced, their lips met with passion. I could feel their body weight against mine, creating a thrilling sensation. I reached for their intimate area, surprised by its significant size. Unable to contain my curiosity, I began to explore it, eliciting pleasurable moans. Consumed by our desires, the external world faded, leaving only the soft whispers within the room. The passion we shared was intoxicating, every touch and kiss more thrilling than the last. As we entwined, I felt a freedom I hadn't experienced in years. I wanted to explore him fully, losing myself in the moment as our bodies moved in perfect sync, igniting a fire that consumed us both. Eventually, the intensity faded, and we embraced, catching our breath. Gazing into Jason's eyes, I felt a sense of joy and excitement I hadn't felt in so long. But just as I began to relax, the doorbell rang again, shattering the blissful moment. Panic set in as the reality of our situation dawned on us. It's probably your husband, Jason said, his eyes wide with fear. Philip wasn't supposed to be home for hours, I exclaimed, scrambling to fix my robe. Quick, we have to hide, Jason said, glancing toward the door. We jumped up, frantically trying to put ourselves back together, just as we managed to get somewhat presentable. I heard Philip's voice coming from the hallway, calling out cheerfully, Carla, are you home? Yeah, I replied. I'm in the bedroom, I said, my heart racing, as I glanced at Jason, who looked just as flustered as I felt. Stay quiet, I whispered urgently, and Jason nodded quickly, slipping into the closet just as Philip walked through the door. Philip entered with a smile on his face as he caught sight of me. I didn't think you'd be home. How was your day? He asked, stepping closer. Just the usual, I said, forcing a smile and trying to act as normal as possible. How was yours? Busy as always, he replied with a sigh, but I thought I'd take a break and spend time with you. I nodded, feeling a mix of guilt and excitement. I could still feel Jason's presence lingering in the air, his warmth, and the thrill of our shared moments. The person was trying to focus on their current conversation with Philip, but their mind kept wandering back to their previous encounter with Jason. The memory of the connection and passion they shared with Jason was overwhelming, causing their heart to race. When alone, the person's thoughts were consumed by the last meeting with Jason, recalling the thrill and intensity they felt. To calm their restless thoughts, the person took a relaxing bath, but even then, their mind drifted back to Jason's touch and the captivating nature of their encounter. The person felt a strong desire to see Jason again. The knock on the door caught me by surprise, and I quickly wrapped a towel around myself before opening it to find Jason standing there with a mischievous grin. Hey, he said, his eyes sparkling, I hope I'm not interrupting anything. Not at all, I replied, my heart racing at his unexpected arrival. I invited him in, and as he stepped into the bathroom, I felt a surge of excitement at having him close again. I shyly mentioned that I was just taking a bath, and he remarked that it looked inviting, his gaze lingering on me. Mind if I join you? He asked. I hesitated for a moment, my heart racing at the thought of being so close to him again, but the thrill was too strong to resist. "Sure, why not?" I responded. In an instant, Jason stepped into the bathroom, closing the door behind him. The atmosphere felt charged with anticipation as I watched him slowly undress, my breath catching as he revealed his toned body. Every part of me ached to touch him, to explore the heat that radiated from him as he slipped into the tub beside me, the warm water surrounding us. We created a close, intimate moment as we exchanged anxious looks before our mouths met in a passionate kiss, with water splashing around us. I lost myself in him as he held me tightly, and we deepened the kisses, filled with longing and craving. I could feel his warmth against me, igniting a burning sensation within me. "You're even more stunning than I recall," Jason murmured softly against my lips, his breath caressing my skin. Jason whispered against my lips, his warm breath on my skin. I felt flattered and thought he was more irresistible every time I saw him. With newfound confidence, I pushed him back against the tub, straddling him as I pressed my body against his. The water splashed around us, but I was lost in the sensation of his skin against mine. My fingers traced down his chest, relishing the feel of his muscles. "Carla," he breathed, his voice filled with longing. "You have no idea how much I've wanted this." "Show me," I replied, my voice sultry, as I leaned in for another, more fervent kiss. The world outside faded away as we explored each other, the water mingling with our desires as our kisses became more urgent. I could feel his hands roaming my body, tracing every curve, as I lost myself in his touch. The thrill of being so close to him sent shivers down my spine, igniting every nerve ending. I leaned back slightly, allowing him to kiss down my neck, savoring the sensation of his lips against my skin. "God, Jason," I gasped, my body arching toward him, craving. With a low rumble of yearning, he cupped my face, his thumbs caressing my cheeks as he pulled me in for another scorching kiss. The heat building between us was a powerful force, drawing us closer and urging us to explore further. The water around us became a blur as we became entangled, lost in the intensity of the moment. My hands roamed his body, tracing his shoulders and arms as he deepened the kiss, each movement fueling the passion. Suddenly, I felt a surge of boldness and pulled back slightly, gazing into his eyes. "Let's take this further," I whispered, my heart racing at the thought. "Are you sure?" he asked, his voice thick with desire. "I've never been more certain," I replied. My heart raced as I whispered, "Are you sure?" His voice thick with desire, he replied, "I've never been more sure." Without hesitation, we moved together, the warm water surrounding us as we embraced the heat of our desires. Our bodies entwined, the passion escalating, our breaths mingling as we lost ourselves in the pleasure of being together. Time seemed to stand still as we surrendered to our desires, exploring every inch of each other and feeling the warmth of our connection grow. Breathless, we eventually pulled apart, gazing into each other's eyes and basking in the bond that had blossomed between us. But just as we began to relax, the sound of the front door echoed through the house, and we exchanged worried glances. "Philip's home," I exclaimed, panic rising within me. "Quick, we have to get out of here," Jason said, scrambling out of the water. After quickly drying off and getting dressed, the tension was palpable as we tried to make ourselves presentable. Just as I finished fixing my hair, I heard Philip's voice calling out again. "Carla, I'm back," he shouted. Jason said urgently, "We need to hide," and I nodded. We both ducked into the closet, our hearts racing as we heard Philip enter the bathroom. The two of us stood close together in the darkness, our breaths mingling, as we waited for the tension to dissipate. Philip washed his hands at the sink, oblivious to the chaos that had just unfolded in his home. "How was your day, Carla?" he asked casually. "Just relaxing," I replied, my heart pounding in my chest as I exchanged a nervous glance with Jason. After a few tense moments, Philip finished and left the bathroom, allowing us to breathe a sigh of relief. "Wow, which was close," Jason whispered, his eyes wide with excitement. "I know, I can't believe we just..." I began, but before I could finish, he leaned in and kissed me softly, reminding me of the thrill we had just experienced. "We cannot stop now," he said in a pressing tone. "This is only the start." I felt my heart beating fast, torn between the excitement of our hidden connection and the facts of my life with Philip. But deep down, I knew I couldn't resist what was happening between Jason and me. I was prepared to welcome this new phase, wherever it might take us. As we left the closet, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. We both understood that our lives would be forever changed. The allure of the forbidden captivated me, and I was eager to explore this unanticipated relationship, no matter the cost.